Well, we started out intending to do a two-part drawing. Turns out, if I had made part two, a finished drawing, it would have been an hour long. You would have been going somewhere else. So we decided to make it a three-part. If we need four, we'll do that. And the thing I want to do here is something I rarely do, and that is to do something very close to being finished. So in part one, I did the gesture drawing. In part two, I did this. This is the end of part two, and now we're going to start this third part, and we're going to continue defining or creating the actual shape of the mushroom with the negative space. And so to do that, I'm going to continue to work around it. And sometimes I may go on, like I think I went ahead and started on this side, which I will continue for a while here. Now, in the second video, second quick tip, I talked about the shaft, how we can use the shaft of the ebony pencil to work with us when we use the pencil, the electric pencil sharpener, or the old-fashioned crank kind. And we still be able to get a long shaft like that and a smooth shaft like that. And so I've got myself a nice little, I don't know if you can see it. I don't think you can. You can see the sharpness of the point. But I've got myself a nice little flat area right in here that's doing this work for me. Of course, I'm helping along by the way I'm moving the pencil. But what I'm doing here now is I'm moving around this outside in order to define the mushroom itself. Then, once we have that value developed, we can then know what to do on the inside. Because the value on the inside, if you'll notice in our reference, is lighter than the negative value. And so what I'm trying to do is keep the the value that's touching the edge, right, like right in here, trying to keep that the same contrast, degree of contrast between this part and this part that I see over here, between the outside, the negative area, and the positive area. Because that gives life, that brings the life out. That's one reason we see that mushroom the way we do, is that dark in the negative defining the lighter in the positive. Okay, I've showed you several techniques here. One is working with the shaft in a vertical, repeating a vertical movement where we move it like that to form little textures. That's the kind of texture I see in here. And that's how I was moving the pencil to create that texture. And I showed you about how we wear that flat area down by moving it here. And I'll work that again to be sure I have that nice area. I want to know where I am on that pencil. I want to be in that area that is flat so that it doesn't create a sharp edge right there. And so now I've got that going again. So I'm going to continue. So what we see right over here now, this little part of light is in shadow, and a little bit of shadow. So I'm going to create a very light value right here on the edge of the mushroom here. Now let's create the shape in the negative. And if you'll notice, the value here is not as dark as it is here. And creating those variations in value can also help give interest and life to the image. And so I'm going to move it back and forth like this to create the shape. And I'm moving myself around it so I can create that shape. And watch how this works. I'll just create the shape there, keeping that value dark. And then I'm going to work back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to let it get a little lighter on the edge here because I don't want to create any giveaway lines. And let it kind of gradate in this direction. And then what I want to keep is that vertical movement in that value. And so what I'll do here now, begin to move. I'll just turn my arm this way and begin to pull that dark down and let it gradate in towards the bottom here. So I can keep that feeling of that vertical dark. But just continue that right in here. I don't want it to show where one value ends and the other begins. So I'll just let that gradate. And we gradate by the pressure we're putting on the pencil. And I explained that in video 2. I'm putting the pressure with the way I'm holding the pencil. I'm holding the pencil like this for that. Best way to hold the pencil when you're working with the shaft, and to have your whole hand, you see, cupped around it. You see, like that? And all of that goes into the technique of the drawing, technique we're using, this particular technique, which is my favorite for my own drawing. I just find that it more shall I say, accurately expresses how my sensibility about a subject. So I may not have dark against light forming the shape as we have here, unless the subject demands it. So in this case, it does. And so, but I do want this negative area to feel like it's all moving in the same direction. It's behind the mushroom, and it's moving in this direction. So I want to create that. I want to create that sensibility, that directional movement. It's called directional movement when you can detect which way something is going. And so I'll just let that fade out like that, and just gradate it out by lifting up on the pressure of the pencil. All right, now I'm going to continue to move around it. Now see here, I interpreted that, I saw that in the gesture drawing as a little more the direction going a little more that way, and where I'm seeing here, it really is going a little bit more this direction. So which one do I want? Do I want what I did originally, or do I want what I'm seeing now? Okay, I'm going to just let the pencil move up and down. Now, as I explained or mentioned in the form of quick tip, normally I like to rotate my drawing around, rotate the drawing pad, but because of the way the camera is set here, it would give you a distorted view. I'm trying to work around it myself physically rather than turn the drawing around. So what I'm doing here is I'm just getting myself on this side of it and pushing. I'm just letting that shape, that dark value of the pencil, form the edges. I see those little textural things. And so I'm just going to kind of split the difference between the direction I see it moving in. I've got it very, very close to the way I'm seeing it right here now. And that's fine. I need just to have just a little bit more dip in it right here. So we'll do that. And I'm going to let that I don't want an echo. Echo means that on the negative area, I can see the shape of the positive area. When you see that, sometimes people are making a darker or a difference in value difference in the negative than in the positive. Sometimes you can see that shape, that you can see it echoing, and you don't want that to happen. That's just sort of it creates kind of misleads the viewer. Just I don't want that echo. Now, what are we seeing as we go around over here? I think I need to move myself over here so that I can better interpret what I'm seeing right here. Now, okay, I'm seeing something right here. I have a slant, a little bit more slanted than I saw it there. So I can just change my mind. And I make this become a part of this. right in here like that, and then let it go down a little bit. And let's go down a little bit darker there. Let's get that just a little bit of push, just push, 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 push. Right here, push that, and let's give that a little bit more emphasis. That value contrast gives that emphasis. And then let that gradate up. And I'll just gradate it up like this, like that. And I'm going to move it back and forth like this to help to create the gradation, because I don't want that little division right there to show dark into the lighter value as it goes up. And so just push that up and down like this, and keep that background, keep this edge right here, suggesting this is maybe the end, the end of the drawing. Some people will say where the frame goes, but I'm not thinking in terms of frame right now. Now here, I'm just going to sculpt. I'm going to sculpt, use the chef to sculpt that edge right in there, and just keep moving it down like that, and let that go at a little bit more of an angle right here. Move it over a little bit further than I originally saw it. And so you can see when you sometimes when you create a gesture drawing or your preliminary drawing, sometimes you think angles might tilt. You might have angles tilting a little bit different from the way you want to see it tilting when you begin to develop it into a finished drawing. I'm just going to let that gradate up now, and I'm going to put that vertical stroke in so I can create little value differences here going in a vertical direction, because I want that to feel vertical as it moves across. And so let's keep going now, and keep going. Now I think maybe I might let it kind of the edges of the edges between the dark here in the negative and the light in the positive. I'm going to let that get a little bit lighter right in here, a little bit lighter. Now, so I want to see, where do I want the emphasis? We'll see that needs a little bit more refinement there. Needs a little bit more gradation. Let's make that vertical. I'm going to let it go ahead and build that vertical feeling on out like this, like that, till I get to about right here. Let's go ahead and get that joining with this. Whoops, there. Something bumped into something. Oh, that so happens I put Scotch tape there to keep my drawing from moving around. I mean, my reference from moving around. And I hit that. That's a good place to end the drawing. Now see, I need that. No, that needs to come in a little bit further, right in here. A little bit further, and just bring it a little bit further. We'll keep that lighter, a little bit lighter on this side than over here. I think I don't want the same emphasis all the way around. That's a little showy when we do that. Now I see some streaks. The texture of the paper probably happened in a drawing I had underneath here, or something. Who knows? Now, okay. Now let's see. What do we have? Did that? Because I did that, I need to. Right in here, I need to get this consistent with the light. I'm not trying to make it look like a mushroom. I just want the expression of that particular kind of mushroom in my finished drawing. So I'm going to let the value gradation. I need this a little bit darker. These edges a little bit darker. Here, let's keep that direction. I want that direction moving the way I see it moving there. I see this going this way and this way. Now I see this whole shadow area. The shadow area a little bit darker as it comes down. You see that? Just a little bit darker as it comes down over those textures and things. And it turns like this, and it gets a little bit lighter as it goes up. You see? A little bit darker. Oh, it's very much darker back here. So I need to change my location. Now, wait a minute. Got some discrepancies right there in direction. You notice I'm paying attention to anything except mushroom. I'm paying attention to the degree, the degree of value to where I see gradation, and that's where I see contrast, where I see textures. And been reserving this light over here. I'm going to get just a little bit light, a little bit darker as it goes down, just a little bit darker. Let's let this turn into a little segment right here, a little bit darker. Now I may need to begin to do some subtractive work. I see something right in here that's going to help form the whole thing, and that is this little dark area right in here. That you see, it's I'm using that back in that vertical, vertical movement, and allowing it to turn the way I see the edge of the shape turning right in there, and then it moves down, and then it begins to, okay, what's happening right into the lighter? I'm going to define that in the negative. Define this part of it a little bit more in the negative right there, like that, and then let it gradate down. And that becomes a part of that that limb. And so, and that's not quite as dark there as I made it. So what I do, I may have to lift that up just a little bit. So I'm not going to do the limb. It's not important to what I want to show. And so, but I want to keep that. Remember, I worked on this lost edge right in here. I don't want to lose that. So let's get that formed right in there. And let's see now what's going to happen right in here. We're very close to where I want this little drawing to go. I need this to be more consistent right over here. I think I need to get in here. Now I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to use push, and as I'm moving in that direction, I'm lifting up on the pencil. Because remember, I'm keeping that vertical movement in the negative. And so, and remember, I'm trying to teach you to think in terms of negative and positive, not figure a background. That whole idea of background to me is so cold. It doesn't say anything about what's going on visually. Now let's see what we have there. What do we need to do? Okay, now this area right in here, has more shadow. So let's do some shadow work right in here. Now, don't want to go too dark. That shadow is really about the same degree of darkness as the negative area is there. And we want the direction of that shadow to move with the direction of the shape. And so it kind of falls into a little triangular shadow. Kind of moves down like that, and then it sort of shows shows a little bend there, doesn't it? It shows that little bend of the where the shape changes, where the form changes. And so now we want that to be gradated a little bit more. This is not as light as it looks, and so right in here, then we need to create a little bit more value contrast in this little area right in here. So create that little value contrast right in there, and I'm watching the directional movement, where the direction of this form changes as the value is causing the value to change, and so that means if it's causing the value to change. And if I get the value as I see it there, or close to where the relationship of value, close to what I see there, then I'll pretty much express what I see there. Okay, this contrast is not needed. This value contrast is not needed. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm going to leave a little bit of value contrast right there. I do want to leave that value contrast right there. And we do want to give a little bit more emphasis, a little bit darker right in here. So you see, as I'm talking to you, when I say darker, I'm pushing a little harder, squeezing a little harder. You see the little flat spot on my thumb there? And you see the same thing on my fingers, because that's the way I'm using the tool. And So I'm going to let that taper off. Now let's get this sort of, even though we got that little bit of feeling of shape there, and give it a little bit more value difference. Let's get a little bit more value difference in here and using this motion, because we see that value falling with the textures as well. So when we can find out, when we learn how to really manipulate the pencil, what it will do, you know, we learn what tools will do, just like any any person who's working with a craft. Well, this is craft. The way we're doing is it's our craft. So we learn what our tools will do, and then we take advantage of that to make them do what we want them to do. So that's what I'm taking advantage of here. It's what this pencil will do, the shaft of this pencil, when I move it in this vertical movement. I continue to turn my hand to change to create that direction of that movement there. So make this a little bit darker as it goes right up in here. It's turning a little bit, the form's turning, so it's causing that dark. So just make that a little bit darker. I don't want to lose the light, because the light's what helps to give it that presence. Now have it a little bit darker right down here. It says to me it wants to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to just smooth out that dark there. A little bit darker meets the light. I'm not going to, maybe I don't want that quite as dark as I see it. And I think at this point, all right, so as a drawing, this would suggest that I might need to just sort of vignette or suggest here, the movement, the fact of the twig right in here, the thing that's growing is growing onto. But if I decided I wanted to shape that, I could later. But what I'll do for now is I want to leave it partially stated. So what I'll do is I'll just do it this way. And that, okay, what I need to do here is make this value, I'm going to create this value as being consistent with what I've done above here. And then I'll create the value on just enough of that value on the twig itself, the limb, twig, whatever that is. Create just enough on it. So I want this to be consistent with this. Now what I'll do right here, really I need to turn this around to do this, but I'll just make that a little bit darker right in here. And what I'm doing here is I'm using the movement, I'm working on just a portion of the shaft right there as I'm doing this. Now I'm going to let up on the pressure and let it grade it around so we can create that illusion of roundness. And we do that with gradation always. So get a little lighter, a little lighter, a little lighter. Get it darker right in here. And I'm going to taper out, not quite so dark right here as it goes off the edge. And then because that has that little textural stuff, I said I wasn't going to really define that. I really don't mean to put that much attention onto it. Okay, this is inconsistent right here. So I need to have this feeling like, wait a minute, that moves right in there. Right, this is part of the mushroom right in there. So it's not inconsistent, but this is right here. So I'm going to keep this, make this much darker right here as it goes around. Let's see. All right, it moves into the mushroom right there, so let that define it as moving in the mushroom right there. Let that be a little darker as it goes around, and continue that right here and let it. Now I'm going to give that back to that vertical stroke. I'm going to continue that dark right here. It's called follow through when you continue a shape. Now, if I make this darker now, I'm going to have to make this a little darker than I thought it was. So I'm just going to let this do this, and I'll work it in a vertical like this, and kind of not give too much attention down here to that corner. Let's see. And this just kind of flow out right here like that. Now what do we have? All right, now what I'd like to do next, I've almost got it where I want it. At this point, what I do usually with drawings is the same thing I do with paintings. I will once I have done to the drawing or worked into the drawing the way I feel about how I see it. I will put it on an easel and live with it as I walk back and forth my easel and look at it, and then if I see little adjustments I want to make, that's how it gets finished. So let's see now. I want to do a little bit of subtractive work that I talked about. So we'll start out with a kneaded eraser. And what I want to do here is I'm going to shape it. Let you see me shape it. Shape it kind of rounded like this, like that. I'm going to turn it over because that's got a texture right there, and that will show through. And I'm just going to lift up a little bit. So right in here, not rub it. If I rub it, I'll change the texture. So I got to be careful that whatever subtracted work here, that I don't rub it. Because I like the texture of the paper coming through, which is one reason I like working with shaft. So I'm just going to do some, see what I'm doing there? I'm shaping that on its end so that I can kind of reinforce the lights that I see in those spores live. Is that right? I don't know. You know. If you know, that's fine. Now let's sort of keep that as continuous in there. What do I need? A little bit more. That needs to be lighter right there so it gets a feeling more of gradation as that goes up. Right in there. Do that. Now let's see. Let's come in with, let's see. I better practice on this one. Do I want that one or do I want this one? The little eraser part. Let's see. This, see what I've got? This is the little eraser. This is the MONO0, Mono Zero. It's made by Tombow. That's the company that makes the little a pen brush that I like to do no tans with. And I don't know where these are available. This was a gift, and I really enjoy it. So, by the way to clean these is with very fine sandpaper. The way to clean this eraser and the click eraser, the best way to clean them is with or you want to clean it and reshape it, either to reshape for a sharpness of this one, just cut it off with an X-Acto knife right there. But you can also smooth it with sandpaper if you need to reshape it. So remember, your erasers are tools as well. So I'm going to use this one now to just do a little bit of a finishing touch here to give the feeling. This is subtractive, to give the feeling, more feeling of the light. This is in those little textural areas, and I'm using this the same way I used the pencil. I'm holding it different because it's a different kind of tool. It requires me to hold it differently. But what I'm doing there, let me get something here to clean that off. What I'm doing there is I'm using the same kind of motion, same kind of stroke there to just throw those little light textures in. You have to be careful you don't overdo that sort of thing. So sometimes we can get carried away with textures. Let's put a longer one right there. Sometimes we can get carried away with textures, and then it starts looking artificial. So we don't want that. Now let's see, if I look at the whole thing, so do I need a little bit more? Do I need this a little cleaner right there? Maybe I do. Let's take this other one. Usually I use the click. Let's use this one right here. Let's just clean that light up a little bit right there. The one thing we have to be cautious of, I should say aware of, when we're working with pencils, graphite pencils, is that it smears. And if we smear our hand over it, it will smear and it will begin to look muddy, and we want the drawings to look fresh. So to keep the drawing fresh, your last step or last bit of work is to use some sort of one of these erasers to clear out, lift up, and clean up any place where it might have smeared. So also the way I move that pencil, it has you can see it right here on the shaft. It has a tendency, sometimes if the shaft passes over an area, it will smear it. So but those kinds of things can be cleaned out just with these little soft erasers that don't cause the texture of the paper to change. And so All right, I think maybe I'm going to stop right there. I hope with these 3 quick tips, these 3 little videos, that I hope you've seen something that is a kind of a miracle worker that you can do with pencil, nothing except just this little wonderful ebony pencil, and the various erasers I showed you, where you can also, don't forget this little thing, the little goat hair brush, where you can create a drawing that is for the drawing's sake. Just the drawing itself can be a delight to look at, and a delight to do. Be sure and view all of our quick tips. And while you're doing so, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell, so you'll always get a notice when we produce a new quick tip, which is every week. And if you have a question, leave it in the comments section and we'll make a quick tip for you. Also, take a trip over to DianneMize.com, where I have full-length lessons, downloads, DVDs, lots of other stuff there, some free stuff for you. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the newsletter, and that way you'll always be informed every time we do something new.